What the hell did I just watch? Hello and welcome to Rotted Review of the Day, and today I am taking a look at the 1977 classic from Japan, House. Now, first of all, I have never seen this movie before the other day. Second of all, I really didn't have any idea what I was getting myself into. I had seen the poster art. It was in my queue. I have a strong love for classic horror movies. I have a strong love for Asian horror movies. Usually, I don't have a really big repository of knowledge combining the two, so it was a unique opportunity for me. And I heard some rumblings about it. I've seen the name pop up on some forums and so forth. So, okay, I'll give this a shot here. And there was really no way for me to know what to expect with this one. It certainly wasn't what I wound up watching. What I seem to have stumbled ass backwards into upon reflection and upon research after having watched it was a cult following movie. And here's the thing about cult movies is, well, to backtrack just a little bit. I started the Rotted Reviews channel here. I've mentioned in many of my videos to review horror films on their own merits. To not really try and stack up Ringu versus Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. It just would it would never hold up in a million years. There's a reason you don't see a lot of horror movies nominated for Academy Awards. That doesn't mean that they're bad. Oh, some of them can be bad movies, definitely. But I wanted a channel or a review system where a horror fan will take a horror movie and see past some of the flaws and the rough edges and see the scares that it was going for and the camp that it might have been going for and the fun that it might have been going for. And I mean, that's largely why I have the intent category in the scoring system, and appreciate the special effects and the the stuff that makes that makes the love we have of the genre shine through. Now, cult movies, I got to draw the line somewhere. And I think that is where the line is for me in my objective review of film. Is cult following movies, it's an organic thing. Usually, I would say, well, all the time actually, I would say 100% of the time, a cult movie will emerge as an organic, unpredictable outcome from a film's release. I've never seen, I can't think of a single instance, and if you can, please leave comments, but I can't think of a single instance of any movie that was trying specifically to be a cult movie that succeeded at the endeavor. Usually it's on accident. Usually it's something that a filmmaker will make a movie that is just, they're trying for scary or they're trying for camp. And it winds up having this rumble following. Bruce Campbell said it best, and I'm going to paraphrase here pretty poorly, I'm sure, but something along the lines of a popular movie is a movie that 1 million people will see 2 times, whereas a cult movie is a movie that 2 people will see 1 million times. And it just has that really subtle, ground level love to it that somebody is willing to invest emotionally in this silly thing. Be it, the Evil Dead franchise or House, apparently, Pink Flamingos, Eraserhead, what have you. It's something that just kind of grows organically. And it's that level of emotion that I am going to be trying to distance myself from. Okay, let's take the Evil Dead movies, for example. I have a massive cult love for them. Army of Darkness, especially. Evil Dead 2 is one of my all-time favorites. But when it comes time for me to review them, I am going to be finding that in-between balance. I am not going to try and review them as a cinematic film. I am going to try and review them as a horror movie. But likewise, I am not going to try and review them as a cult classic that I have this emotional attachment to. I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to review them as a horror movie, objective, and just I need to have a consistent baseline for these reviews, and that's what I'm going to try and do. So, House. What I wasn't expecting was the level of over-the-top manic energy that encompassed this movie. Everything about it was so cartoonish and bizarre that it defies a lot of description. It's something that is just something to behold. You know what? To get into how I broke this down, let's get into the categories. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And the plot of this one followed 7 girls. Each of them had names that were unique to their own characters, their characteristics. We had Gorgeous, Kung Fu, Fantasy, Prof, Mac, Melody, Sweet. And, like their characters follow their names. It was just kind of nicknames that they got based on their personalities, but it was it was a way to have characters that were very easily identifiable and generic. They simply filled the role that they were named for. But these 7 girls find themselves needing to, going on vacation from secondary school, high school, and they go to Gorgeous's aunt's house in remote countryside, and she hadn't seen her aunt actually ever, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, but her mother had passed some years ago, and she wanted to find that reconnection with her family, and but please bring my friends along. So they go there, and they get more than their bargain for. The aunt is very sweet, but in kind of a creepy way, and things start happening of a supernatural sort. The plot as it unfolded just, bare on the screen, and how the sequence of events, occurred. I really didn't see a whole lot special about it. It was okay. I think that some of the thematic elements of what the characters went through, Gorgeous especially, was all right. It was just nothing terribly too awful special, just strictly going by what was written on the page. So I gave the plot 11 out of 25, the low end of average. That's kind of just generally how I felt about the storyline. The intent, I would say, is easily the most difficult part for me to review. I can't imagine what the intent of this movie might have been. I cannot possibly see that this movie was strictly going for just being, balls to the wall scary. It was far too silly for that. Some of these characters may as well have had, strapped themselves to a big cartoony rocket with Acme written on the side. It was that level of manic insanity. But at the same time, it wasn't for kids. There was definitely some good gore and, some light nudity and so forth. So, where did it land? I just can't help but feel like maybe this was a movie that was done for the sake of some camp and silliness, and but for the benefit of adults. Assuming that. And this is a problem that I have, is I don't have the cultural and historic context to properly judge the intent of this movie. That is a level of ignorance on my part. I just don't have it. I can do some research on the culture of Asian cinema, up to a certain point, but this is a blind spot for me. We all have them, and this is definitely one of mine. I do not know what was going on in the world of Japanese horror in the 1970s. That's one of the reasons I wanted to watch this movie, is to gain some of that level of perspective, and instead it kind of sent me reeling. So the intent, by my estimation, of saying that it was going for a gory, fun fest for adults, I would say that it succeeded fairly well. I would give it a 19 out of 25. The acting overall was pretty it was silly. It was silly and kind of campy. Not altogether too awful impressive. I gave it a 7 out of 25. The technical is another area that I found a little bit weird for me because there were some most of the effects I would say had to deal with chroma key and the green screen camera manipulation kind of play there, the rotoscoping, and some of it was actually impressive. What they were able to accomplish was actually pretty impressive in the rotoscoping. The blood effects were okay, but some of the rotoscoping and the chroma effects were just awful. You could see just a lot of artifacts, and by artifacts I mean the special effects artifacts that come from basically bad rotoscoping and bad chroma. So some of it was very impressive, some of it really not so much, and ultimately I just kind of had to give it a good middle of the road average, 12 out of 25 points. And that gives us a total score of 49 out of 100 points. And to sum up, if you are looking for a seriously scary movie, this is absolutely one to pass on. If you are looking for historical context of Japanese horror pre-1980, I don't know. I am going to try and find more movies in this era and in this region that I can gain that level of knowledge and foundation on. So if you have input on that, I really welcome comments. I would love to have discussions about this as I continue this journey of trying to gain my knowledge and giving reviews to you at the same time. If you are looking for a knee slapper, fun time to watch with friends in just loving it, I cannot recommend this movie enough. I mean, this is what I mean by trying to judge horror films on their own merit and trying to appreciate them for what they actually bring to the screen. This is absolutely worth watching with friends, with big buckets of popcorn, and with an open mind and a sense of humor. So, and there are absolutely times for movies such as this. And if you wind up in that kind of environment, if you wind up in that kind of situation, please kick on House, 1977 Japan. It is absolutely worth it. And that's about where I landed with it. So I really appreciate you joining me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.